Thank you for staying with us. Now, Mali's military government has started taking gold from the Canadian mining company Barrick as part of a dispute over revenue sharing. Now, the government seized 3 tons of gold worth around $180 million from a mine near Kayes and transported it to the capital, Bamako. Now, this action followed a warning from a Malian judge and is part of a larger legal battle over money owed to the state. In December, Mali issued an arrest warrant for Barrick CEO Bristow on money laundering charges and ordered the seizure of the company's gold reserves. Now, the government has also arrested 4 senior executives from Barrick who are still being held. Now, to explore what this means for all parties involved, I'm joined by Modibo Mao Makalou, his president, IBS Consulting in Bamako. Thank you so much for joining us, Modibo.
My pleasure. Hello.
All right, so from what we know, Modibo, Mali has accused Barrick of owing substantial revenues and issued an arrest warrant for its CEO over alleged money laundering. Yet no evidence has been made public. How can such serious accusations proceed without transparency?
Thank you for your question. As you know, gold is very important to the Malian economy. We depend on gold for 90% of our exports revenues. And as you said, what happened was last year, the government committed an audit from an international company in order to audit the mining sector. It's the results of this auditing process that led to negotiations with mining companies. As you know, we have about 14 mining multinationals operating in the mining sector in Mali. And there have been settlements with other mining companies except Barrick. I think there was an agreement with Barrick in the end of 2023, and then the government made a communiqué saying that Barrick did renege its word on settling overdue taxes and also non-repatriation of profits and money laundering. I don't know what the facts are based because, as you know, the audit report itself has not been made available, so I don't know what's in it. But what I know for sure that it's only Barrick that has not settled this amicably with the government of Mali.
Okay, now speaking of, Barrick not, settling this, Barrick actually offered to pay $370 million, and Mali also claims that it owed much more. So how has this revenue dispute, arisen? How do you ensure that Mali's people see tangible benefits for these massive gold profits, given the country's struggles with poverty and hunger?
There's a shift in paradigm because Mali has been mining gold at the industrial level for the last 30 years. As I said, Mali governments depend on gold revenues, but Mali is the third producer of gold in Africa, according to the mining ministry. But if you look at the reports from the Gold Council, it says that Mali is the second African largest producer of gold in Africa after Ghana. Yeah. So lack of transparency in the gold sector because the governance issues are very large and are not settled not only on the side of a multinational but also on the side of the government because no one knows how much gold is really produced in Mali. No one knows exactly how many quantities of gold are exported. And as you know, there's also been a shift in regulation, the mining law. The last one was dated 2019, in which the government owned shares of 20% and the mining company 80%. With the new mining law dating back which is applying this year, effective this year in 2025, it started actually last year in 2024. It says that the government can get up to 30% of the shares and the private sector 35%. So it's a 65% share for the mining company and 35% for the government and the local private sector. So I think the issue is what I've heard from the government's own words are overdue taxes that have not been paid and unpaid dividends. But I was told also that this was based on the audit report, which Barrick is disputing. But as you said, it has not been transparent enough for me to know exactly what's in this audit report.
Oh, okay. Now, aside, Mali, Barrick has actually faced controversies in other countries over tax payments, environmental issues, and also treatment of workers. Now, seizing 3 tons of gold worth $180 million and also detaining executives, no doubt sends a strong signal to foreign investors. But do you think that this kind of approach will deter future investment in Mali's mining sector, or is it a justified response to historical exploitation by some of these foreign companies?
Personally, I'm vying for an amicable settlement of this issue, revenue issues. First of all, Barrick is a very large investor. It's the second largest producer of gold in the world. And Loulo-Gounkoto mine, which is operated by Barrick, is the largest gold mine in Mali. And it accounts for 1/3 of all mining revenues from the government in Mali. And as I said previously, gold mining revenues constitute about 1/3 of budget receipts, revenues. So Loulo-Gounkoto itself is very important to Mali. Not only are there about 8,000 employees, I think it's the largest employer in the country. So Loulo-Gounkoto partnership between Mali and Barrick is very important. And I certainly hope that these issues will be resolved. But as it has to be through transparency. And also that Barrick is offering to go to arbitrage at the international level, at the Court of Settlement of the World Bank. This will take months, and operations have been halted temporarily, but I've heard the CEO of Barrick saying recently in Saudi Arabia that he was open to dialogue. And as you said, there are people detained, executives of Barrick detained in Mali. And I think negotiations are ongoing, and we should encourage more negotiations because it's better than to halt the operations, which will harm the revenues of Barrick, even though Barrick states it's only 14% of revenues in 2025, but it's 1/3 of revenues for Mali too. So the issues should be resolved amicably, I believe.
Okay. Now, Modibo, just before we wrap up, you did say that Mali is the second largest producer of gold, and also to find solutions on how African states can avoid exploitation, without alienating critical investors. We also know that Mali has immense mineral wealth, yet it ranks amongst the poorest countries in the world. And Mali's annual gold production of 70 to 80 tons, and also the fact that mining contributes about 75% of its export revenues. Can you tell us, where is the disconnect here?
Well, actually, I'm correcting, it's now 90% of export revenues. Gold constitutes 90% of export revenues since 2023.
Which is more.
And it's 10% of GDP. And the government wants to improve that so that gold can contribute to 20% of GDP. But you also know that Mali will become this year in 2025 the largest producer of lithium in Africa, in Zimbabwe. But gold is only, the mining sector only has created 20,000 jobs in Mali out of a population of 23 million. So you see basically, and what Mali is deriving as revenue from the gold sector is taxes and also dividends. And there are also claims that dividends have not been paid over the years. And in 2019, an ounce of gold was at $1,300, and now it's close to $2,700. So profits should have, increased, while the production costs have not increased. So it means that basically profits have increased. And I think the government wants a bigger share of the pie, As you said, now we have gone from 80-20 partnership in the old regulation to 65-35 in the new regulation. And I think that's the issue that needs to be settled, but it needs to be settled through negotiation.
Oh, okay. Well, I wish we could actually speak more on this, but we'd actually have to wrap here. Thank you so much, Modibo Mao Makalou, President, IBS Consulting in Mali, for joining us at this time.
My pleasure. Have a good afternoon.
Have a good afternoon.